first used in 1851, the Old Gray Cemetery has grown to commemorate thousands of famous Knoxvillians, all of whom are buried here right underneath my feet. For instance, one of the most memorable families that remain here includes the immense Crozier family, whose grave I'm standing here now. Since their immigration to America, several members of this family have left a great impact on society and an overall legacy within Knoxville, Tennessee.
The integration of the Crozier family into Knoxville all began with Captain Colonel Crozier as he immigrated to Knoxville from Ireland. In 1785, he began work as a trader with the Cherokee Indians. Aside from this business, he was also considered a philanthropist because of his contribution to the First Presbyterian Church, which I'm standing in front of right now, and its historical graveyard, where a monument now marks his resting place. Although Captain Crozier made a few contributions to the Knoxville community, his main legacy lies within the contributions of his son and granddaughters, John Crozier Jr., Lucy Crozier, and Lizzie Crozier. Together, the three of them transformed the Knoxville community from the mid-1800s to the early 1900s, leaving a legacy still seen in the community today. John H. Crozier Jr., the son of Colonel Crozier, became a prominent educational leader. From 1808 through 1822, John was treasurer at East Tennessee College, which is currently known as the University of Tennessee. On the corner of Gay Street and Clinch Avenue, John owned a welcoming townhouse. Here, many notable men and women were entertained, including General Ulysses S. Grant. After graduating from the University of Tennessee, John became a successful lawyer at a firm in downtown Knoxville. Later in his life, Crozier became immensely interested in politics. To fulfill his political drive, Crozier was elected into Congress as a member of the Whig Party. His choices were always reflective of his political views, regardless of what was viewed as popular. Moreover, he believed that the election of Lincoln would give the South the power needed to secede from the Union. In 1863, General Burnside rode through Knoxville hoping to recruit men for duty. After being forced to leave home, John Crozier was taken as a refugee, and he remained in this condition until the conflict's outcome was decided. Burnside, during the duration of the war, lived in the beautiful Crozier Mansion, which overlooked the Tennessee River and valley. By the end of the war, however, John Crozier had lost all of his interest in politics. He later died on October 25, 1889, and he was laid to rest in the historical graveyard at Old Gray Cemetery.
While the years are passing swiftly by, Lucy still has a mind that dwells upon the problems of today, and no one left behind. She knows the history of our nation and of fair Tennessee, the ships that have come and gone upon life's turbulent sea. Her political views are acute, always on the alert, for the good friend and the people with a lovable heart. Once a friend always. Today and tomorrow, and you will find her semper Eden, in joy and sorrow. Lucy Graham Crozier, born to a prominent pioneer family, lived in a distinguished home on Gay Street, located at what is now known as the Farragut Hotel. She was educated at Georgetown in Washington, D.C., and later at the University of Chicago and Cornell. She was very well-traveled and often referred to as one of Knoxville's most cultured women. In the earlier part of her life, she lived in New York, where she met many prominent leaders and educators of her time. Later in life, Lucy, along with her sister Lizzie, founded Knoxville's Female College. One of Lucy's biggest contributions to the nation was her important role in aiding the passage of the Collins Bill for the purchase of many 15th century books. She was also head of the Knoxville Legal Aid Association. She took pride in helping those she believed to be wrongfully convicted or in need of a pardon. Her legal advice was free to all so that anyone could receive it regardless of income. Miss Crozier took an active role in fighting for women's suffrage. She refused to accept conditions of life as it was and fought for the rights within the country. She later died in November 1930 due to natural causes. Miss Lucy Crozier was a strong, influential woman who fought for her rights as well as for others around her. Her generosity and exuberance has carried her legacy far past her years.
Lucy Crozier, an educator, civic leader, and suffrage leader, was born right here in Knoxville, Tennessee.
She was educated at Georgetown in the District of Columbia and the Episcopal School in Columbia, Tennessee. She married William D. French at age 21, but he died after less than 2 years of marriage. Together they had one son, William W. French. Lizzie Crozier was one of the most prominent activists in East Tennessee during the time period. In 1896, she established the Women's Educational and Industrial Union. One of Lizzie's abundant involvements in the activist activities, she was active in the Women's National Party, the nation's only feminist organization of the U.S. at the time. The goal of the organization was to fight for equal political, legal, and economic issues. Lizzie spent her time traveling all through East Tennessee, lobbying lawmakers for their vote before they convened in a special session in August 1920 to consider the 19th Amendment. Her strength was lobbying with a fervent passion that inspired others to share her same feelings. Lizzie Crozier's most notable achievement was influencing Harry Burns' mother to convince Harry to vote yes as he cast the deciding vote for the 19th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, giving women the right to vote. In addition to her suffrage efforts, she also maintained a career as a teacher because of her passion for education. She and Lucy founded the Knoxville Female College in an effort to promote equal education for women. Her specialty when teaching was public speaking, a skill she had learned extremely well from her congressman father. Also, due to the lack of textbooks available during the time period, Lizzie took the initiative to write her own title, A Manual of Elocution. Lizzie also left a lasting impact when she initiated the Women's Educational and Industrial Union. As a leader within the organization, Lizzie was the first woman to speak to the Knoxville City Council, requesting the position of a police matron or female police officer. She believed that a female officer would be able to empathize with females taken into custody. Moreover, she believed so much in the cause that she filled the position herself until a permanent one could be hired by the city. Lizzie's relationship in the city council continued to grow and expand, as she eventually became the first woman to address the Tennessee General Assembly on the separation of women and children from standard prisons. It is said that her voice and those supporting her were heard, and the state eventually saw to the establishment of both the institutions. Located in the heart of Knoxville in Market Square lies a brilliant sculpture commemorating suffragettes from Tennessee. The feature on the sculpture is the one and only Lizzie Crozier French. The memorial cost a whopping $300,000, was sculpted by Alan McQuarrie, the same artist who sculpted the Athena statue featured in the Parthenon of Nashville. The memorial was revealed on the anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, serving the purpose to commemorate the countless suffragists from the Tennessee region. On the statue, 3 figures are depicted from the 3 varying districts of Tennessee: East, Middle, and West. On the left stands Elizabeth Avery Merriweather, in the middle stands Lizzie Crozier, and on the right stands Anna Dallas Dudley. The statue also features quotes by all the women. Lizzie's reads, "Bullets and ballots are not companions, but ballots in the hands of people are supposed to be a substitute for bullets in the hands of hired agents. Thanks be to God that in giving women the drown of motherhood, He made her the giver, not the taker of life. Women have no greater claim to the rights of the ballot, that she is the producer, not a destroyer of life."
In 1868, while she was studying in New York, Lizzie Crozier French came across the Cirrhosis Club, which was a unique organization of its time in that it was a literary and book club solely for women. Struck with inspiration, Lizzie wished to start a similar club of her own, and did just that by inviting a congregation of 25 women over to discuss and read literature. Meeting at the Mosaic Hall in the Knoxville Female Institute, 12 females came together and established Miss Lizzie Crozier French as the institutional leader and decided to hold weekly meetings. Over the course of several weeks, the club grew and grew, expanding their influence throughout Knoxville. Eventually, they decided to name their club the Asoli Circle after their founder, Margaret Fuller Asoli. In the late 1800s, the original Cirrhosis Club wished to join with similar women clubs and form a general federation of women's clubs. Fortunately, Lizzie Crozier French was invited to be the representative for the Asoli Circle. The purpose of this meeting was to give women the opportunity to share some of their common dreams in life, as well as to promote and stimulate their own education. In doing this, the Asoli Circle was able to start their own general federation of women's clubs right here in Tennessee in 1896. Over time, the Asoli Club has continued to grow and expand, and in 1933 they settled down in the Asoli Clubhouse located right here on Kingston Pike. Nowadays, the Asoli Club focuses more on welfare than on literary works, and they strive to broaden social and economic and civil activities for women. This club has grown from something so little to something quite large and impactful, and it couldn't have been done if it weren't for the primary efforts of Lizzie Crozier French.
Lucy and Lizzie's goal of equality for women was ultimately achieved with the passage of the 19th Amendment granting women the right to vote. On August 18, 1920, Tennessee cast its vote to ratify the amendment. The majority won only by a single person. The state was also the 36th and final state needed to make the amendment official law. Lizzie summarized the celebration while stating, "Ratification would have not been possible without the dedication and personal sacrifice of thousands of women across the state who worked continually to build strong suffrage organizations in Tennessee." The women's suffrage movement is a milestone in the political and social history of the United States, yet it is virtually unacknowledged in the chronicles of our history. Recognition of those who gave so much to include women into our democracy is long overdue.
Through the implementation of benevolent efforts, the Crozier family shaped the suffragist movement and postal history in Knoxville, Tennessee. In addition, the family encouraged education movements that were continued for years to come, providing women with equal opportunity in the field of education. Not only did the family's activism contribute directly to the Knoxville district, their actions combined with those of countless other suffragists resulted in the ultimate success with the ratification of the 19th Amendment. Through the years, women continued to earn equal positions to that of men in all aspects of life, fulfilling the goals of the Crozier sisters. In addition, John's role as a prominent government official resulted in a lasting political influence held within Knoxville, Tennessee.